Hi, welcome to the Wolf Beat. My name is Joy Hamilton, your host. Today we have three representatives from the Canadian Armed Forces joining us today, talking about the Raven program. Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having us. I'm Petty Officer First Class Michelle Howell.
Hello, I'm Sailor First Class Ranville.
Hi there, I am Sailor First Class Connor Eastlook.
Well, welcome everybody. Could you first tell us a little bit about yourself and, what is your role with the Raven program and how it got started, if you could?
Sure, yeah. So I've been in the forces for almost 17 years now. And about 7 years ago, I was looking to evolve my leadership, and the Raven program kind of presented itself as an opportunity. So I started as an instructor and then have since moved up the ranks, and now I am the Indigenous Program Coordinator. The program started actually back in 2003, and it initially started as a youth program to kind of build bridges into Indigenous communities across Canada. Since then, it has evolved and grown, and now we're getting a lot more applications, and it's for anybody who identifies as Indigenous across Canada from the ages of 16 to 57. And what it is it incorporates Indigenous teachings, military training, and it has a little bit of naval influence because we are here on Vancouver Island at CFB Esquimalt, the Navy base. So, yeah.
Thank you.
I joined the Raven program in 2014, and I heard about it from my mother, actually. She kind of set me up with all the paperwork, and at that point in my life, I haven't really left my hometown area, so it was really exciting to be flown halfway across the country and meet new people and visit a totally different place.
That must have been very challenging for you.
Yeah, it was first time on a flight when I was 17, so it was pretty cool.
And how did you find it, coming to somewhere where you've never been?
Honestly, it was pretty nerve-wracking. Just like not being with my family and just meeting all like brand new people.
I learned it through my mother as well. She found it on a pamphlet at the college she was working for. And what made me really want to try out the Raven program would be my stepfather. He was a huge influence. He served in a submarine. From what he saw in me as a person, he recommended the Navy because I wanted to travel the world, and he said the best way to do it would be probably through the Navy because it's a lot easier to get deployments at a lower rank.
So what were some of the things that you did while you were in training?
We did some weapons training, and we learned how to disassemble the weapons and do proper cleaning with them. And yeah, we got to live fire the weapons as well, the C7, the assault rifle.
And what was your day like? Like, what time did you start in the day?
0500 for sure. Almost every morning we would wake up at 5 in the morning.
And how was that for you?
This is a totally different world, honestly.
Was that hard? Was it hard to get up? And
it definitely took a lot to get used to.
But once you're in 2 weeks, you get the groove of everything, and you learn how to work, how to go through the day with 4 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
And so what did some of the challenges you found with the group?
Challenges, I would say just when, so our big months are June to August. The recruits arrive in July, but we do lots of staff training leading up. So I would say the tempo really it starts to build. The rest of the year you've got a pretty low-key tempo. You're doing lots of planning in the background and maybe some recruiting. And then when you are leading up to the course, you just kind of hit the ground running, and I would say that's probably one of the bigger challenges, and we can definitely sympathize with the recruits because they hit the ground running as well when they arrive, and maybe they don't realize the staff are just as, kind of overwhelmed and working their butts off too, but yeah, it's a high tempo and long hours, but very rewarding. So I would say that's probably kind of one of the interesting challenges. Yeah.
So one of the things that you brought up was, with First Nations, there are many First Nations, cultures. They follow different protocols, different things like that. So are these things in place for the students for when they come? Like, if there's certain things they follow or do, or let's say even food-wise, et cetera, et cetera. How do you deal with that?
It's interesting because this program is open up to anybody who identifies as Indigenous across Canada. So we have First Nations, we have Inuit, we have Métis, and then within all these different cultures, there's lots, and every single culture has their own way and protocols, and so we're very mindful of that, and we always ask the recruits, what do you need from us to make sure that you're comfortable here? I mean, yes, training is still a priority, but we also want to make sure, if something like smudging is important in your culture, then make sure that something like a smudging kit is made available. Or, sharing circles. We would incorporate sharing circles because this is a way that many of the recruits kind of let all the stress of the week out by sharing in a sharing circle. We also, at the beginning of each Raven program, we run something called a cultural experience. And this is an opportunity to set a foundation for the recruits to build teamwork, but they also learn about the different cultures from across Canada. Mm-hmm. So so that's another way that they can kind of explore. Yeah.
That sounds kind of exciting.
Yeah.
It must be a lot of fun too. Did you find there were fun parts with the program?
Yeah, the first week of the program, we have this thing called Culture Camp.
Yeah, it's called now a cultural experience, but yeah.
Yeah, and there was definitely one of my highlights of the whole thing was to learn about all the different cultures, and being able to show off my own culture to other people as well was amazing for sure.
I think I remember you playing Inuit games.
Yes.
Yes, and you were very good at them.
I loved it. Probably favorite part was knuckle hopping.
Which one?
Knuckle hopping.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
That was, luckily it was on grass.
And yourself?
Just really cool just to meet everybody, and that first week is where you actually hear the stories and where everyone's come from, so you just make bonding experiences.
I bet the bonding experiences they must be great because like you said, you learn from so many other people, but the camaraderie, the word I'm trying to say, is probably very strong. Did you find that with some of the other people? Or?
Yeah, I definitely found that the bond we shared with throughout the weeks we were on the Raven program it made it really hard. The last day I had to leave for after everything is done, you've done your parade and you graduate. It was really hard for me to eat on that day because I felt like a part of me was leaving.
Oh.
Yeah.
You basically that's your second family away from home. Right. So yeah, saying goodbye to everybody, and we don't know when next time you're going to see them.
Mm-hmm. But let's talk about now. So after your program, did you decide that you were going to stay with it, or what brought that on?
The program definitely helped with showing me what the Navy is all about. It played a huge part for me joining the Navy.
Yep. One of my instructors was a bosun, and he was just showing us all the places he's been on deployment, and it just really got me interested in the job. So when I got home, I just wanted to join right away.
So what is a bosun?
Bosuns, we pretty much maintain so we have ships and then we have boats that are on the ships. We maintain the boats and the weapons, as well as anything to do with the sweep deck or the forecastle. And if we're ever going to anchor, you're going to have a bosun on the forecastle, definitely working out the anchor.
We play a huge role in deck evolutions, like refueling at sea or coming in and out of harbor. They like to call us the jack of all trades, and we help every other trade that needs work done. So.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds exciting.
Oh, definitely exciting.
It's very rewarding.
That's great. It's wonderful, actually. And you know, these are, it's a good career for both of you, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
I'm sure you can go on with what you're doing,
Yeah.
right?
It left us with pretty good skills. Like I didn't know how to properly put a boat to the side of a jetty until I became a bosun. So that was definitely a good skill to have because my stepfather loves his boats.
And how do your families feel about you doing this? Are they happy that you're joined? And
Yeah, I think they're very happy. I think they're nervous at first because I came back out to Victoria, and the first time I deployed, I told them where I was going, and they obviously haven't been to any of the Asian countries, so they're kind of thrilled but scared at the same time.
My family was all for it. They're so proud of me for being able to step out and go across Canada away from them. And I'm pretty sure my stepfather's glad that he can have somebody to talk to about military life.
so, what would you say to other young people that would be, you know, about the program? You know, is it something that, you know, everybody should do? You know, is it? What would you say about it? Like,
I definitely recommend it. I originally just wanted to do it for a summer job, and then that summer job turned into a career, and here I am 9 years later, 2 deployments under my belt. So I think a very rewarding experience, meet new people, so I definitely recommend.
thank you. And yourself?
I would also recommend it, even if they're nervous about like thinking about joining the military. I would say whether you want to or not, you should do the Raven program because by the end of it, you don't have to sign that contract, but it's also a good way to get your foot in the door, just to make sure you have that option to sign it. You know.
I understand you have a personal story, a funny story, with the Raven program. Would you like to share it?
Sure. I mean, I have lots of stories that have come up over the years, but you know what's there's always a lot of humor. You know, in basic training, you know, people are learning for the first time, and so at the end of Raven, what we like to do is something called a skit night, and we give our recruits the opportunity to maybe reenact some of their favorite moments from the course. And we do this at the end of the field phase because the field phase is a bit of a monumental time, because once you finish the field phase, you know that you're pretty much good to graduate. So skit night, actually, Connor over here was deciding to impersonate me for skit night one year. And when you know, they're all getting ready behind a modular tent, and all the staff are sitting there, and we're like, oh, what are they going to come up with? And all of a sudden, Connor comes out, and he's wearing boots on his knees, and he's coming out on his knees with a name tag that says Howell. And because I'm a little bit shorter, I think this is why he chose to do that. And then he, you know, we had some of the other recruits that were lined up, and I think you were giving some orders, and then some. Sometimes we do some physical training to help prove or talk about a point that needs to be talked about. And what did you end up doing there?
You were a huge fan in 2018 of flutter kicks.
I did. I really liked flutter kicks.
So I ended up making them do flutter kicks.
Yeah.
I tried to do them with the whole boots on my legs and everything. It was weird, but I didn't realize that I was actually making them work out when it was just a little funny skit. They had to tell me, like, you should probably make them stop.
Yeah. I said, you know, this is a reenactment. It's supposed to be fun, and then you look over and they're starting to sweat because they're actually doing these flutter kicks with their legs on their backs, and the staff were laughing, and then we're like, oh, you might actually want to tell them to stop, and he's like, oh, right. But yeah, that's always a really fun night, and everybody kind of, you know, lets loose and relive some of the more enriching points of the course. Yeah.
That's fun. That's great. Are there any other stories? Do you have any other ones?
I ended up having to sing Earth, Wind, and Fire by September. Yeah, that was also part of skid night, actually. I ended up putting an answer on a test that I shouldn't have.
Outstanding. How's
It was
that?
Earth,
Good?
Wind, and Fire on it. I shouldn't have done that. And they ended up making me sing it, and
Very good.
I had to do it with a couple of other friends of mine, which was actually
Wheel on midship,
great.
sirs.
Very good.
Wheel on midships.
But,
Very
it was
good.
definitely
Steer
a
180.
moment that I'm glad I was
Stern a
able
little
to
bit better. So that's what we'll do this time because we haven't done that yet. All right?
Yeah, it was a military knowledge test, and there was a question around what elements of something around the figurine or chemical warfare. And we said elements, and he wrote earth, wind, and fire. And so we're like, well, I guess he wants to sing a little bit of September by Earth, Wind, and Fire. So we got to know that song pretty well during the yeah, so it's funny because, you know, the training, the staff take it very seriously because we're training, you know, future sailors. We need to trust that our training is going to take them into their next steps of their career. But, you know, we're all human, and it's really good when things are, you know, intense and, you know, a little bit stressful, that those little pockets of humor are great. They're stress relievers, and, you know, it reminds everybody that we're all human, and yeah.
It helps.
Well, that's kind of important,
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
you know.
It really helps with the bonding with everybody around you as well.
And yourself? Have you ever had any fun things that happened?
Honestly, like fun things, I think what really sticks out for me was after the in-dock period where we have to stay on base, is just getting let free and going into the city and just having a blast with everybody.
Another really fun day is the confidence course. So we have a big obstacle course, and you know, at one point during it, everybody gets to go through it, and you've got everything from swinging ropes to crawling on the ground, and lots of things that, you know, if you're a little bit afraid of heights, there's some height obstacles, and that's always a really fun day in the course as well.
It was definitely fun. I got to race one of the instructors.
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll, if
He
there's
cheated.
time, yeah,
He cheated.
we'll do some racing. But yeah, and that's a really neat aspect because it's part of the training, but it's really fun. And you mentioned weapons. Everybody really enjoys, you know, going to the range and shooting the weapons. We do a day sail during Raven, so you get to go on board one of our warships and actually spend a day at sea, and you learn different aspects of what a life as a sailor is. Yeah, and we've got our field phases where you need to navigate with a map and compass. So that means no cell phones, no GPSs, and you got to get out your map and your compass, and you got to get your team from point A to B. And those are always really interesting because they basically get lost in the forest, but we find them, and then yeah. So there's a lot of really interesting learning and fun pockets amongst the course. And then graduation is also just seeing the pride of the staff and the recruits on the day of the graduation of what they've accomplished over the 6 weeks is incredible. And that's definitely a big reason why I've stayed with the program so long, is that pride on graduation. Yeah.
Well, you know, it's been great to have all three of you on the show. I want to thank you very much, and congratulations to the both of you. I really hope that this continues to, you know, do very well, and it sounds like a great program. You know, something I think that people watching this will, you know, hopefully they'll give it a chance, and, you know, it sounds like a very big step for the both of you, and I think that's great that you've done this. And thank you for coming.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
And if somebody is wanting to do the Raven program, how would they go about, and how would they do this?
Yeah, so all applications to the Raven program goes through our recruiting centers, and there's recruiting centers all across the country. But even easier, just forces.ca, and then looking up our Indigenous programs. We've got quite a few. The Raven falls under the Indigenous summer programs. We've got 5 of them across Canada. Raven, I mean, I might be biased, but I think is the best one because it's on beautiful Vancouver Island, so you can't really go wrong. And you get some of that fun Navy aspect with it. And you can also find us on Facebook, the Canadian Armed Forces Raven program. And you'll find all your information there, and you can even apply online, and then all applications are processed through recruiting centers.
Great, thank you very much. Well, it's nice to talk to all 3 of you, and I wish you 2 the very best of luck. You know,
Thank you so much.
It sounds like you're going to have a very rewarding career at the end of all this, you know, and traveling, and be a lot of fun, I would think, you know. Very good for you. And I want to thank you for coming to the Wolf Beat. I hope, are you going to continue on with what you're doing, you know, for...
Yeah, I mean, right now we're just about to start another summer. Things kick off early July, so we're just starting to, that tempo is starting to build, and it's very exciting. I find it extremely rewarding. I think I speak for both myself and my staff when I say we learn just as much from these recruits as they learn from the military training, and it's really also rewarding to see them continue careers in the Navy and in the forces. It means that, you know, we did something right. So yeah, definitely.
So one thing I forgot to ask was, how many students at a time?
So this year, I know that we're at roughly a little over 140 applications. For the Raven program, we take between 40 and 50 per summer. And then if someone can't get on the Raven program this summer, I mean, it's always open for the next summer, or they can look into one of our other 4 programs across Canada. They all follow the Army Reserve basic training plan. And once they complete it, everybody receives their basic training qualification and can continue on into the reserves, the regular force, or if they said that was a great experience, but I think that's good for me, I'll take these skills back to home, they can completely release. So it's a great opportunity. It's kind of like a try before you buy, you know, so yeah.
Great. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, and
Thank
I want
you.
to thank you too. The very best of luck, and I hope you continue to do really well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.